Hey writers, Patrick Nyland here. I am typically really good at naming my writing projects. So now that I'm struggling to name one of my writing projects, it's a really stressful process. For those of you who don't know, I'm currently working on two writing projects. One is called Talia's Ghost, and the other one is called Operation Ark, title in progress. I made a video about Operation Ark a while ago, but my old videos were pretty bad, so I'm just going to quickly go over what I'm working on and the current issues, which is coming up with a title. A lot of the issues with coming up with a title for the project I'm currently calling Operation Ark have come from the fact that Operation Ark is a series of short stories. In particular, Operation Ark is a series of short stories about humans taking refuge in space stations after a nuclear apocalypse makes Earth uninhabitable. Most of the short stories take place in those test facilities, which are actually genetic labs. But yeah, that's enough of an introduction. A lot of the writing for this project has actually been going really well. There's a handful of short stories I've written for this project that I've already fallen in love with the results, and I don't even want to change anything about them. There are a couple that need some work, but the biggest issue I have right now is I don't have a title for like the overarching series. So I figured, why not enlist the help of AI? In all seriousness, I don't think AI is going to pick the perfect title for my book off a little prompt I gave it. In fact, even if it did, I don't think I'd feel comfortable taking it. However, I'm hoping that maybe one of these titles that AI has generated for me can help me come up with a title for myself. Also, let me know in the comments which one of these AI titles you like the most. So I input a little prompt about my book into ChatGPT and asked it to generate me a couple titles. It came up with 10. I was actually considering putting one of the short stories into it and asking it to come up with a title, but I decided not to do that for two reasons. One, I don't want ChatGPT to have access to my short stories. They're mine. If ChatGPT wants to pay for them, I will gladly name my price, but until then, they're mine. And the other reason I don't want to do that is this is a series of short stories, and I want the title to encompass all of the short stories, not just one that I input. Because a lot of the short stories I've already written actually do have titles. I just don't want to use the title of one of the short stories I've written as the overarching title. I know a lot of series of short stories pick the biggest or most popular short story and put that as the title as the whole collection. I don't want to do that. It takes away from my idea that I want every small short story of this series to tell a bigger picture of the whole overarching story. The first title we have here is Exodus Genesis, Tales of the Cosmic Ark. It's actually kind of funny that this actually went directly into biblical terms, even though I didn't tell ChatGPT that my story is going to have an overarching theme of biblical concepts. The space stations are called arcs. The company that created them is called New Genesis. However, I don't really love this one. It just seems kind of vague. The second title ChatGPT came up with is Beyond Earth's End: Genetic Odyssey in the Stars. That actually sounds kind of nice. I don't know if it really fits what I'm writing, but it's interesting. The third title is Eclipse Evolution: Escaping the Nuclear Dawn. Not gonna lie, that one sounds pretty cool. The eclipse part, it's a space term, but it doesn't really have to do anything with the whole concept of the story. But Eclipse Evolution sounds cool. It doesn't work for this, but I like the sound of it. The fourth title is Stellar Refuge: Chronicles of the Perfect Human Project. Now, I heard the term human project and I instantly thought of the Human Fund from Seinfeld, if anyone knows that reference. That title just kind of seems like bad word soup. It did a better job at reading my prompt there, but like it just didn't have any oomph to it. The fifth title is Infinite Horizons: Escaping Earth's Genetic Meltdown. Yeah, that doesn't really fit this. I will say, while I've hated most of these so far, they are getting my gears churning. I guess maybe I'm thinking in a different direction that I wouldn't have thought before. Although so far, to be honest, I think I would take Operation Ark before any of these titles, which is surprising because I find Operation Ark to be super generic and boring. I don't like it, which is why I'm trying to think of a better title. The sixth title idea is Galactic Pioneers: The Genetic Odyssey Chronicles. I'm sorry if I'm struggling to read some of these. I'm looking directly into my ring light behind the phone to like get better lighting in the video. When I look down my computer, I'm kind of seeing the outline of the ring light. I don't know if that means it's too bright and maybe I shouldn't be looking in this direction, but I think the lighting looks pretty decent. So this filming session shouldn't take too long, so I doubt it'll be too bad, but moving on. I think the sixth title is kind of just like a combo of like the ones it's already created so far. I'm not really seeing any originality. Don't really like it. So we're just going to move on. The seventh title that ChatGPT came up with was Apex Genesis: Adventures in the Celestial Exodus. It's an interesting title. Out of all the biblical terms, I kind of want to leave Ark out of it, even though I know that the space stations are called arcs in the book. It seems like every space station in sci-fi is just named an arc. I know I'm also naming space stations arcs, but there are some reasons for it. It's also just, I don't know. I don't want to use arc in the title. It makes it seem kind of generic. I'm not going to use the term Exodus because the space stations in the series aren't going anywhere. They're going to be trapped right above Earth's atmosphere, just waiting for time to pass. The people aboard the arcs will be told that Earth is not safe to go back down to, but they won't be sure if that's true. And there will also probably be some short stories covering what's actually happening on Earth and whether or not it is safe to return. Also, let me know in the comments if this sounds like a series that you'd be interested in reading. At number 8, we have Nebula Nomads, Tales from the Genetic Escape Fleet. No. I kind of see what ChatGPT is trying to do, trying to make like a catchy word where it has like two N's. Like earlier on, it had Eclipse Evolution, and I really like the sound of Eclipse Evolution. But now, like Nebula Nomads, it just seems cheap. Also, I don't want to name this series of short stories that has anything to do with tales of or stories of. Like, I want it to just have a good standalone title. At number 9, we have Cosmic Catalyst Escaping Earth's Genetic Catastrophe. I like Cosmic Catalyst better than Nebula Nomads, but again, it's like that same letter matching thing. It's kind of cheesy. Also, it really doesn't fit the story, which, to be fair, ChatGPT doesn't know what my story's about. Only I know what my story's about, so I can't fault them for that. I know, I'm being a little picky. And finally, at number 10, we have Beyond the Fallout, The Celestial Genetic Experiment. I don't hate all of that. I've actually been trying to decide whether or not I want to use the word Fallout in the title. The game series Fallout has actually been a pretty big influence for this story idea, so I don't know if I want to pay a little homage to it by including it. It's not like anything I wrote was stolen from the Fallout universe. The connections are very vague. I just like the stories from the game series, and it really got me thinking about what it would be like to have apocalypse bunkers in space. And then there's the whole genetic experiment thing. Although I will say the genetic experiments in my series are a lot more scientific, although that doesn't mean they're any less cruel. Anyway, those are the 10 titles that ChatGPT gave me. Yeah, I'm definitely not going to be using any of these, but I'm hoping that maybe, like, looking back at these, it might help me come up with a better title for this series. I think at some point what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit down for one day and just make 100 different titles and just try to shift through which one I like the most. This is just a really weird feeling for me to have so much of a story complete, but yet not have a title in place for it yet. It's normally the opposite way around for me. I normally come up with a title well before I even flesh out my characters. As of right now, the best title I feel like I've come up with that I'm kind of on the fence for using was Covenant of a Binary God. There are a lot of things I do like about that title, and I think it kind of expresses the idea of the overarching series pretty well. However, some people were saying it's kind of broad and doesn't really tell the reader exactly what this is about, which I also kind of agree with. I will say, I think ChatGPT is a really fun tool to use when it comes to brainstorming, just to get some ideas flowing, maybe think in a different direction. I definitely would never rely on it to name your book. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and hopefully it gave you some sort of inspiration. If you haven't already, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out. Thanks for watching, and good luck with your works in progress.